Joining me for Newswatch is Sophie Elsworth, media writer for the Australian newspaper. Sophie, thanks for your time. But Waleed Ali, all right, he can say whatever nonsense he likes. It's Channel 10 about dumb voters. I wonder how intelligent his audience is. But Patricia Karvelas, she is from the taxpayer-funded ABC, and that is meant to be impartial, isn't it?
Well, you would think so, Andrew, particularly because at the start of the year, all ABC editorial staff had impartiality training when it comes to the Voice referendum. But, Andrew, I think these remarks by Waleed and Patricia Karvelas are really offensive to a majority of Australians who voted no. And they seem to be not able to come to terms with the fact that there was a resounding no vote in this country. People did not want this. And now it's come down to really, I think, quite insulting takeouts from this, that if you don't have a bachelor's degree or you haven't sat in a university lecture theatre, you're more likely not to be really engaged and sucked in to the misinformation, disinformation, the lies that were peddled supposedly by the No campaign. I think this is really offensive, Andrew. And just so the viewers can see, this is a grab that Patricia Karvelas had when she interviewed Warren Mundine on the night of the referendum.
There were many things that your campaign said that weren't true. Do you regret taking that approach?
I reject what you just said.
I mean, that's so offensive. Taking it as a fact that the No campaign had told lies and seriously, Patricia Karvelas, get over yourself. People voted against the Voice for very sound reasons. There was another meltdown on another of our publicly funded broadcasters, again meant to be neutral, impartial. This time it was former Olympian and politician Nova Peris on the SBS. Here she is.
Australia has pulled the shutters down and said, we choose not to see you, we choose not to hear you.
I mean, that's such an inflammatory message, Sophie, and so false. I mean, we have 11 Aboriginal MPs in Parliament. One of them is this Aboriginal woman, for instance, Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, who we listened to very carefully, the No campaign leader. But, spreading that message by some in the media that, isn't that really toxic, saying that this country is racist and heartless and this proves it?
It's pretty disgraceful stuff, Andrew. I mean, I was watching SBS on Saturday night and was nearly falling off my chair, seeing what was unfolding there with Marcia Langton described as a national treasure. Some of this stuff that went to air over on the ABC, I saw Laura Tingle ask one of the Indigenous MPs if, I'm paraphrasing here, if this resounding no vote meant that Australians didn't love Indigenous Australians. It was something to that effect. Do they feel like they are not loved? I think what was happening on Saturday night was the left knew this was going down and they prepared their talking points, and their talking points were that this was full of misinformation, disinformation and lies, and they are still struggling to come to terms with, Andrew, that Australians did not want this. And when they finally wake up and realise perhaps the mainstream media is completely offbeat here, they are not listening to what mainstream Australians believe, and that is they did not want this voice to Parliament.
That is exactly correct. It really is that simple. They looked at it and they didn't like it. They liked it a year ago. They didn't like it when they looked closer. Now, but if you really want a dangerous take on race politics here, Sophie, I was shocked to hear this from race-baiting Senator Lydia Thorpe. She was siding with the Palestinians, particularly with the Hamas-led Gaza Strip, Hamas being a terrorist group, after the slaughter and rape of Jews a week ago, and said Aborigines here had the same right to stand against colonialists, as she put it. Here she is.
Colonisation and dispossession is not a thing of the past you just read up in the history books. They are ongoing violent processes happening right now. You have the responsibility to support Palestinians standing against it, just as you have the responsibility to support First Nations people here standing against it.
This is so inflammatory, Sophie. It's almost like, you know, whipping up, accidentally or not, an intifada in our streets over the Aboriginal issue. I mean, this debate now is getting right out of hand.
Well, it is, Andrew, and if I remember correctly, Lydia Thorpe didn't go on Q&A last night because she said she was still receiving threats and she felt unsafe. Some of these comments that people in the public are making are pretty damn offensive, Andrew, and it just stirs up this angst and this whiplash, which is completely unnecessary. But Lydia Thorpe does she's very outspoken, as we all know. She generates headlines. And sometimes I wonder if she's just saying these things, Andrew, to get a reaction, because then it ends up in the media and we all start talking about it.
I can't help but think you're absolutely correct there. I would hate to think she's actually wanting the war that she keeps talking about, because in the end, it won't just her be being frightened. Whether these threats are real or not, I don't know how genuine they are. A lot of people will be terrified, because that is the last thing you want. We should be talking it down, not talking it up, and that is a senator in our parliament. It's just extraordinary. Sophie Elsworth, thank you so much indeed for your time.